But you also have to understand that this is not an easy situation for Tyler Tumminia to be in, because the league that she's commissioner of is actually, in a lot of ways, it's a media creation. The current incarnation of the NWHL, I mean, the NWHL, it's been around for a little while, but it was rejuvenated as a women's pro league after the CWHL folded last year, which, by the way, that was a shame. I didn't like seeing that league go away because, quite frankly, I do like women's hockey. I wish that I had more opportunities to see it on TV. I wish I had more opportunities to see it in person. It's actually been a little while. I think that the last game that I went to for women's hockey was actually an exhibition game between the University of Alberta Pandas and the Chinese national women's team. They were on a tour. So they played an exhibition game at the Clare Drake Arena in Edmonton, and the doors were open, and the game was free to watch. And so there was literally no reason not to go, and I went to that, and that was unfortunately the last time that I've had a good opportunity to go see a women's game. Other than that, I mean, aside from the Olympics, it's really the only time that we really get to see things like this. And I think that that's unfortunate, because I think that as an alternative to men's hockey, I think that women's hockey is something that deserves to succeed. It very much does, but it's not entitled to succeed. But that, in all honesty, was part of the message that came out very quickly after the CWHL folded. I mean, it was all over Hockey Night in Canada, and one of the things that was said was that, oh, well, the networks, they all have to throw money at this thing, and, sponsors, they all have to throw money at this thing, regardless of the value that it can actually provide at this particular time, I mean, due to the size of the audience. But they said, they basically, just for the sake of virtue, they had to prop up this league. And so they did make a big announcement about an expanded NWHL. Budweiser acquiesced to a very passionate media campaign in order to get them to support women's hockey. Well, I've got no problem with that. My problem is with the number of people who are describing themselves as women's hockey journalists, who quite frankly would rather see this league burn to the ground, collapse again, rather than have them just accept support and coverage from a media outlet that they don't happen to like. There's almost what I would consider almost like a pathology with the media, who probably consider themselves to be the mainstays of NWHL coverage. And it seems to me like when you actually look at it, they're a bunch of media mean girls. And they probably sit around and they probably think to themselves, they probably actually think that they're like the Lindsay Lohan character from that movie. I'm sure everybody remembers that movie, Mean Girls, right? And so, of course, there was Lindsay Lohan's character. But then, of course, there was also Regina George. And so they all think that they're like Lindsay Lohan's character. And they're definitely not. I'm sorry, in this particular situation, the Lindsay Lohan character of this is Erica Nardini. And these NWHL journalists, I'm sorry, they're not even Regina. They're like Karen. And I have to be honest with you, there's something that's just so absolutely perfect about that they kind of embody that kind of that beta female type role in this particular allegory, and the name is Karen. You look at the way that they're acting in relation to Barstool Sports, and they're Karen. I think that, in all honesty, I think they should let these media people put together a team, and they should just all have Karen on the back of their jerseys, on their nameplates. Which, in all honesty, would really be something to see, because when you look at these women that are covering the NWHL, not very many of them look like they have ever played so much as a shift of women's hockey in their lives, let alone could they get out there and do it now. You're literally talking about, they are women, if not with blue check marks. There's not a lot of those proverbial Twitter blue check marks there, but there's quite a bit of blue hair there. There's quite a bit of those thick frame hipster glasses that they all like to wear, that they somehow all think are not obnoxious. But really at their core, they just think that they're special. All of these things that they did to Erica Nardini and to the two players that appeared on that podcast, Token CEO, these are things that they think that they're just entitled to do. If done to them, then they're wrong. But if they're doing them, then they just, they're entitled to do it. It's virtuous when they do it. They think that they're just entitled to do it because they're in the media. They have platforms. And they have platforms, and so they can use those platforms to punch down, and they can tell you that they're punching up when in fact they're punching down. And as a matter of fact, not only will they not only will they try to use that to punch down on Erica Nardini, they'll use that to punch down on anybody who even so much as disagrees with them. You're talking about people who, quite frankly, they never could have actually built this thing. They never could have actually built this league. Tyler Tumminia can build this league. Tyler Tumminia did build this league. But these media people, they can pressure people into building it for them, but they could have never built this league themselves. But they're more than happy to take this thing that they never could have built themselves and to burn it to cinders, rather than let the wrong kind of people come and be a fan of this game. And to me, that really tells you everything that you need to know about what kind of people these really are. Compared to what the kind of people they tell you they are. You don't really need to hear that from them. All you have to do is look at the things that they do when they think that they have the power to do it. And that's what actually tells you what kind of people they really are. I mean, they're bad for this league. They're bad for women's hockey. And if the NWHL knows what's good for them, they're just going to tell them to just cool their jets. I mean, more specifically, what they ought to be told is that if you want to exclude anybody from this game, then you should start with yourself. Because we don't need you if that's the kind of attitude that you have. Because what they really do need is they do need the attitude of the people who are builders. Who are actually builders, not destroyers. The kind of people who are actually going to contribute to the building of this game. And I'm sorry, but if you can't get these games on Sportsnet, then really that Sportsnet reporter is not really doing very much for you. Not nearly so much as what Erica Nardini is going to do for you. You don't have to like Dave Portnoy to work with Erica Nardini. And it's as simple as that. All right, so with all of that said, one more time, the Isabel Cup tournament will be happening in Lake Placid. It will be available on NBC Sports on February 4th and 5th. I'm going to watch as much of that tournament as I have time for. Even though the Metropolitan Riveters have had to drop out of that due to COVID concerns. Apparently they've just had too many COVID infections on their team, and God, that's a shame, because if there was ever just a more perfect concept for a women's hockey team than the Riveters, with Rosie the Riveter as their team mascot. God, I've never seen a concept that embodies the spirit of women's hockey more than that. It is really a shame that they won't be able to be there for that this year. But of course, that's a team that will be back next year, provided that there is a league and provided that the idiots don't succeed in destroying it.